anything for the lighthouse. Lord, I owe my life to Him. You see, Jesus is the lighthouse. And from the rock to sin, and shone His light of love around me. And I really see just what it wasn't for the lighthouse. Tell me where would my defeat? It's important that we don't live our life here empty and in vain. And though we get tired here, we get frustrated here, and sometimes we get discouraged here, and we feel like sometimes giving up here. We must understand that here is what makes all the difference if we ever want to see there. You can't give up here. You don't want to lose here. You don't want to take here for granted, because here is our wilderness. Here is where our hearts are tried and proved by He that created us. Here is where we show Him what matters the most in our lives. And as one phrase once said, life is not a getting and a receiving, but it's a being and a becoming. It's not always so much of an importance as to what you can get out of life, but many times it's more important as to what you become while you're here. How many people have strived to increase and become recognized and fame and rich or popular or whatever in this world, and they pursued their goal. But once they've reached it, everything around them has changed. Sometimes their friends and loved ones will say, you're not the same anymore. Or their success caused them to overlook those who helped them climb up the ladder. Their whole character changed, because in their striving to get and receive, they didn't take heed to themselves as to what they were becoming. And you don't want to become someone that you will later on hate that you reached that peak or obtained that character attitude. You don't want to strive to reach your goals, and once you get there, then you look back and you see as though there was a wildfire. Everything behind you was burnt, because you burnt everything and everybody to get to where you want to go. They often say it's lonely at the top, but I say it depends on how you get there. If you climb up there right, you'll find out that there's a lot of good fellowship. Because those who helped you, those that were instrumental, you did right about them. And they're right there with you. So, let's understand today what matters the most to you. And that is of great importance. You may ask people what matters the most, and depends on who's asking them. And some people always try to be politically correct. They want to say the right thing. But today we want the Lord to look into our hearts, and I want you to look into your hearts and to if you never took time out to think about it, think about it. What means the most? What is of most importance? The scriptures gives us many illustrations concerning this statement. And there's not necessarily a right or wrong answer. It's just a revealing of you. It goes way back into the heavens. When God created the sons of God and they gave him praise and everything was fine. And there was the anointed cherub that covered and protected the mountain of God. He was decked in all his jewels and fine, and he was very beautiful. But we found out that what meant most to him was his own beauty. The scripture says he looked at his own brightness and he got caught up in his own beauty. And so he said that I will exalt my throne above the throne of God. I'll be like God and greater than him. And when this iniquity was found in his heart, he was cast down and became known as our number one adversary, Satan, which means adversary. What was more important to him was his own self-exaltation. Somebody says, how can somebody that's got it all blow it? Oh, it can be done. Because he was there. He had a prominent position in the kingdom of God. He was noted, he was known, he was beautiful. But what meant most to him was not the blessing that he received. It was his own ambition. And as a result, he was cast out. Adam saw his wife and she was beautiful to him. And of all the creatures, none pleased him like her. And God gave Adam the word. But when it came down to the test of what's most important to you, Adam chose yielding to his wife and hearkening unto her instead of the word of God. Now she was the one being deceived. And in return, she gave to her husband. But they had the commandment. I don't exactly know how the conversation went. She had the knowledge of good and evil. But he was held accountable for the sin that entered into the world. He was not the first to sin, the woman was. But the woman was not the bloodline. Through her, sin entered into the garden. But everybody that has lived in this world and that will ever live was born in Adam. When Adam was created, we were all there. Every last one of us. That's why we all have something to do with the plan of God. When God put forth his plan from the foundations of the world, on the seventh day he rested, he knew everybody that would be born, the part they would play. And he made sure all the characters and actors would be available in Adam. Everybody that would be born, amen, has a major role or a minor role to play in God's plan, was born in Adam. So when he made the plans out, guess what? You were included. This is why we can trust in him to show us the way. When the woman sinned, sin entered into her. It was in the garden, but just in her. But when Adam sinned, by one man's disobedience, sin entered into the world. Because he is the father and the bloodline of all mankind. Oh, he later on regretted it, but it happened. Then we see God taking coats of skin from an animal and putting it on Adam and Eve. He shedded blood. The soul that sinned must die, but he didn't take their life, but he shed the blood of an animal and clothed them, and thus began the institution of sacrificing unto God. Not that he cared about animals, but the sacrifice was like taking the place of man's life, so that he would not necessarily have to die right away. and showing God thanksgiving. Well, we found out that when Cain and Abel were born, they too were put in a situation to see what really matters to them. When it came time for an offering at one given day, Abel was a shepherd and Cain was a tiller of the ground. Whatever took place, what mattered most to Abel was that he gave God the right sacrifice. But it didn't even matter to Cain, not too tough. He figured that he could give God something. And that was not the most important thing in his mind, how to please God. So when they brought the offerings before God, God acknowledged it, and he says, listen, Abel's sacrifice I received, but Cain, I cannot receive it. And in his rebellion, Cain became the first murderer. He killed his brother Abel because his own deeds were evil. Well, he killed Abel because the things that mattered to him the most was of this world. But with Abel, it was to the God that created them. Stop, look, and listen. What matters most to you? What thing, what people, things, or people? Noah built the ark. The ark landed on Mount Ararat there in Turkey, and he planted a vineyard. A lot of people want to discuss how in the world he got drunk. Nevertheless, he planted a vineyard. The wine got fermented, and he drank a little too much. And he found himself drunk in his own tent. One of his sons came in. They have different teaching on what happened. But what mattered to the son Ham that came in, what mattered to him the most was his own humor. He mocked his father and disrespected him. And then he went back and told his brothers, man, look, let me show you what dad is doing. And when his brothers saw, they saw his father's nakedness, they took covering and they went backwards. Because see, what mattered to them the most was the respect for their father, even in his unsoberness. And they covered him. What matters to you the most? They put their father's respect over their moment of folly and laughter. The other brother, what mattered most to him was that he got a good laugh, a good kick out of it, and whatever else. This story goes on. It goes on. The whole world was corrupt. And God was looking for somebody. So he found a man named Abraham. Said, Abraham, I want to give you a chance. What's that, Lord? To decide what means the most to you. What matters to you? Who matters to you? What matters to you the most? Well, what do you want me to do, Lord? I want you to leave everything behind and look for a city whose builder and whose maker is God. Can you do it? What matters to you the most? What people, what things? Can you do it? Abraham did it. He did it. He left it all behind. I feel a small virtue. He left it all behind. And he became known as the friend of God. And then that was, of course, just look at Sarah, his wife. They were barren and they were old and couldn't have a child. And though God promised Abraham that through Sarah, your wife, you shall bring forth a son. Well, we're old. God said, I'm going to keep my word. But Sarah, going through the process and having a little mind battles there, she said to herself, listen, what mattered most to her was her husband's happiness. What mattered most to her was that his name would continue, not be cut off. Because Abraham was thinking he'll have to give his inheritance to his servant. But Sarah said, listen, my Lord, take Hagar, my handmaiden, that you may have a seed. What mattered most to her was not the fact that, hey, she was Sarah, but my husband cannot go seedless. She put Abraham first. And of course, as a result, God honored her. Then they got locked. Am I talking all right? Am I making sense? Are you looking inside your hearts to see what matters most to you? And the reason how you know this, Bishop, how will we know? Because God will put you in situations whereby you have to make decisions. Make a choice. That's how you know what matters most. And I feel a virtue. Now listen. And so we have a lot that Abraham grew and God blessed and even good people sometimes can go to the left. Let me backtrack a little bit. You know, Sarah was very beautiful. And Abraham told her when we travel, if anybody asks you, are you my wife, tell them you're my sister. Now, that was before the law came out. They were half-brothers. They had the same father, but different mothers. So they were half-brothers and sisters, so to speak. They were brothers and sisters. But the law hadn't come then saying that you couldn't marry until Moses. So when he was saying, if I'm correct, we've got the same father but different mothers. When they would find out that, man, this is your wife, why did you lie to us? But he told Sarah to tell them that you are my wife because you're so pretty, because they might kill me to get you. Well, at that moment, what mattered most to Abraham? His safety. He was more worried about his safety to the point whereby he would put his wife at jeopardy. Huh? He was more worried about his well-being to the point whereby he would jeopardize someone else close to him. But God had him. God showed him, you don't have to do that because I got you. And when the king Abimelech would come and take Sarah, not knowing because she said, that's my brother. And when he would get ready to touch her, he'd have a dream. God said, don't you touch that woman. That man's a prophet. And the man would be afraid. They would be afraid. Well, wait. Out of my integrity, I did this. God said, I know, but don't touch her. But Abraham's heart had to be tried that he may learn to trust God more. And he learned through those things because when his son Isaac was born, his only son through Sarah, when God said, I want you to sacrifice and give him back, Abraham didn't hesitate. Because he learned. He learned. And we trust God. He didn't hesitate. He was willing to do it because he believed that God couldn't lie and that if he took that boy, God would give him back because God said he would be blessed and bless all nations through him. So now we got Abraham. He took his nephew Lot. Y'all know that story, right? And God told Abraham, I'm about to destroy all the regions of Sodom and Gomorrah. Get your family out. Lot and his wife and 2 daughters. Son-in-laws didn't want to come. Were told to leave. Sometimes when you're put in the most trying situations, then we learn what matters most to you. What and who. This is not a personal message. If you think it is, it's not. This is what he put in my heart today. Lord, what can I talk to the people? Because see, a lot of times we make decisions. Huh? And in your decisions, it also sometimes shows what matters. And the reason why I say sometimes is because sometimes we are motivated by the wrong presence and spirit in our decision making, and it doesn't always show our true heart. I feel the virtue. We might be moved by fear or by anxiety or by depression. And so the decisions we make are not quite real, transparent. that if we were in our full strength and sober mind, we would have never made those decisions. But as a rule, your choices that you make, those inward thoughts, teach you what you measure, what's the phrase I'm using, what matters to you the most.